What are you doing? Shh. Why are you shushing me? Shh. This is going to be annoying. Today we're taking a look at 5 great in-camera techniques to know, starting with the most... That's not scary. I was just talking to you 2 seconds ago.
Are you shooting the episode? That's cool.
What are you doing?
What's the episode about?
Go sit down.
I just thought...
Go sit down. Go sit down. Go sit down. Go sit down.
Fine.
No, go sit down. Don't sit down right there. Today we're taking a look at 5 great in-camera techniques to know, starting with the most simple but multi-purposed whip pan, or just pan in general really. Using motion in your shot and how much can have all kinds of useful effects to help you accomplish goals with very little resources needed other than a camera and some panning. For instance, say you want to move from one scene to the next. Instead of just cutting, you could whip pan on an action away from the subject, then into the next scene, whip pan in, and you have a fluid transition between the 2 scenes. Of course, this has a very distinct tone, so it won't work for everything, but it definitely has a wide range. You could also take it pretty far and get more creative with transitions as well to get something a lot more stylized, using the actor's movements and actions to take us through each transition. So screen direction here and the direction of the pan or tilt needs to be plotted in advance, since if we go against the actor's motion, it wouldn't be as fluid, though that may be what you want, something that feels more like a brick wall. But as we go with the motion, we get some nice fluid.
Hurts my shins to crouch that long.
So don't crouch, go sit down where you're supposed. We get some nice fluid moves between shots and scenes. You can, of course, add some style in post to enhance this, but it's all crazy simple and a lot of fun. Then you can incorporate some masking in post. A slow pan can do something very similar, like panning to Josh into the building and we pass some sort of obstruction like this. Then when we cut into his office, we do the same to reveal him in a new scene. And in post, we just add a mask between those 2 shots and we have something nice and fluid. Or you can get even more simple and go on sort of a Birdman direction, where in one scene we tilt up to the sky, then move to our new location, and then tilt back down from the sky to our scene, and we've now had our transition. And all we need to do there is add a cut point when we tilt up or down and a slight fade, and we have that very simple and universal transition. Of course, I would only use this if there was some kind of motivation for the move, like if the character threw something into the sky to motivate us up there, then we can come down into the new scene. You can also use it in a similar way to what Corridor Digital just did in one of their recent videos, where Ren is talking to himself. It's just a simple pan over to hide a cut between the 2 shots, but it's so effective and gives some fast pace and fun style to their piece. Or you can go more of an effect route like we've done in the past, like with this episode here. Josh throws an axe at Justin and he catches it. To do this, we had Josh throw the axe and we quickly pan with it. Of course, there's no one on the other side. Josh is just throwing the axe at nothing, but now I can put Justin there.
Why would I throw an axe at nothing though?
I'm about to explain that. Will you please?
Doesn't make a lot of sense that I'd be throwing an axe at nothing.
Can you please go sit down?
It's just like clarify it quicker.
In your chair, not down there, I mean. You're the worst. So now I put Justin there and he holds the axe in his hand, and then I start the whip pan from Josh over to Justin, who on cue acts like he just caught the axe. Then we stitch those 2 shots together with just a cut and we have this. Moving on to another incredibly simple effect. Force perspective is such a useful and underrated trick. It really is one of the most simplistic and fun camera effects to play with, which of course is just having something far and something close to the camera in perspective to make it look like that they're next to each other, which causes the object closer to the camera to seem much bigger than it is. The main consideration here is just depth of field. You have to have very deep depth of field so that what's closest to the camera and what's farthest from the camera are both in focus. Otherwise, the effect is completely broken, so keep it in mind next time you need a fancy car or a vehicle you don't have access to. A really great solve is just to buy a solid model and use force perspective to add it into your scene. We do have 3 more to get to, but before we get to that, let's keep the lights on.
What kind of lights? Home lights?
You're just trying to annoy me, and I'm not gonna let you do it. I'm gonna ignore you for the rest of the episode.
Not annoy. Just here to keep you better.
No. Domain.com is all your website needs, including .com and .net domain names and intuitive website builders to help you create an identity online. Domain.com is reliable, affordable, and easy to use. They have the tools that you need to build a website so you can start sharing your ideas with the world. And no domain extension is going to help you tell your story like a .com or .net domain name. And if you want to brand yourself online, Domain.com has over 300 domain name extensions to fit your needs from .club to .space. This is just so uncomfortable.
It's fine. I'm fine.
Domain.com is giving you 15% off their already affordable prices when you get domain names, web hosting, and email. Just use the coupon code FilmRight at domain.com's checkout. When you think domain names, think domain.com. Can you please leave me alone now?
We kept the lights on. We did it. Logo.
Jumping right back in with our third, and that is something that we tested out over a year ago with some clear UV filters. We took these filters and some Vaseline and spread that all over the filters. Once we threw that on the camera, we got all kinds of unique and stylized looks, some reminding me of Minority Report or Dream or other stylized subjective sequences. If you put the Vaseline on one side of the filter, you get one look, or spread it all over, leaving just the center clean, and you get a totally different crazy look. Then you can keep wiping that on the filter in different places or directions to dial that look in, including
We've been on this set for a really long time.
including getting different directions of light streaks depending on which direction you swipe the Vaseline in. Moving on to something similar but less messy is using stockings as a filter. This gives you a look similar to what you would get from a black Pro Mist filter, so sort of a foggy effect that reduces contrast. It works best with something like netted stockings. You can see what it's doing here if we go without the stockings and then with. It gives us that nice bloom sort of look, and you can dial this in by stretching the stockings out more or less to make the effect stronger or more subtle. And getting it to stay on your lens is easy enough. I just wrapped it on using a rubber band and cut off the additional stockings. Finally, we have our long lens. There's plenty of stuff that you could do with a long lens, but one of the simplest and most often used by me is crushing the proximity of objects or actors to make it appear as though they are closer to each other than they actually are. So if we are physically close in this shot with a wider lens versus physically far from the subject with a longer lens, that proximity from our subject gives us the difference in perspective of the background and foreground.
I mean, you could always just actually hit the guy. Right? That's what people say on the internet when they're being funny. It's pretty good when they say that. It's pretty good.
But with this illusion of closer proximity, you can do things like hit someone in the face with a bat, like this. Punches are also a lot more effective this way as well, and any number of other moments that you need your actor to be closer to something that they really shouldn't be that close to.
Don't let drugs ruin your future.
Logo.
But that's it, 5 crazy simple in-camera tricks that every filmmaker should know. We've done different tricks like this in the past, so check out links below for some of that. And we have a link there for our latest podcast episode as well, where I talked to Daniel Ruth about his first feature as the cinematographer. And I'll see you next week when a younger version of me impales me on a big log.
Wait, what movie is that? I know what movie that is. What is that?